Welcome back, viewers, to another episode on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, where we bring you insightful discussions on various immigration topics. I am Rajni Bharara, your host, and today we are continuing our discussion on enhanced H-1B registration, USCIS filing fee increases, and the transition to online filing of I-129 petitions. Joining us once again is our expert guest, Attorney Prashanthi Reddy. So please help me in welcoming Attorney Prashanthi to the show. Hi, Prashanthi. Welcome to the show.
Hi Rajni, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good to be back again.
Of course, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. And Prashanthi, last time when you did the show, your presentation on the intricacies of these immigration policies and everything was, incredibly enlightening. So now let's dive straight into our topic without wasting any time. So, if you can please, before we proceed into today's discussion and talk about, take about our very first question, I would like you to give a recap of your presentation that you presented in the previous episode.
In the previous episode, we talked about a bunch of things, and I think some of the our questions might cover them today. So I'll just be very brief. We
Mhm.
talked about the new H-1B registration rule, the final rule, which
Yeah.
became effective on March 4th. We talked about how registrations were now beneficiary centric, how a passport is now required so that
Mm.
they can identify the beneficiary. If they're filing duplicate registrations, only one registration will be entered into the lottery based on their
Mhm.
passport. Previously, a passport was optional and now it's become compulsory, entering passport information. We've also discussed the start date flexibility. Now it does not have to be October 1st, it can be October 1st or after, which is the start date of the H1. Um, we discussed USCIS codifying some of the integrity measures so that if there's a false attestation in the registration, or if for some reason the fee didn't go through, then they have by law the ability to revoke the H1 or revoke the registration. We also discussed the new organizational accounts that they've come up with. February 28th,
Mhm.
that's today, folks, is when your new organizational accounts open up. So you should log into your My USCIS account and it'll give you a prompt. If you already have an account from last year, it'll give you a prompt to change your account to an organizational account. And, you'll be able to create admins, you'll be able to create a super admin. And so several people will be able to work on your account at the same time. That's the new organizational account.
Mhm.
But of course, you'll have to wait until March 6th to start your registrations, but you can open the account and make sure it's working in the meantime. And they have, help desk available, so you can reach out to them if there's some issues with your account.
Mhm.
Also, we talked about just the registration period, which, to remind our viewers and our listeners, is March 22nd is ending. It's starting on March 6th and ending on March 22nd. We also discussed briefly about the online filing of the forms. Now they have created, as of today, again, February 28th. So this is a very good day to have our webinar because a lot of things are happening today. As of today, they're launching the new online I-129
Yeah.
account where you can file your petitions online. Also, we discussed some bad news as well,
Mhm.
as well as the good news. We discussed some not so good news about the USCIS filing fee increase and the premium processing fee increase. And I also told you that there are some exceptions to that. Companies who have 25 or fewer employees will not have to pay as much, will not be hit as much as the bigger companies.
Yeah.
They'll only have to pay 50% of the asylum fee, and they will not have to pay the enhanced USCIS fee. So that's good news. So that's what we discussed. Just a recap of what we discussed, and we can now proceed with whatever questions you have.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the recap. And, we covered a lot of lot related to H-1B in the previous episode, but still there's a lot pending. So the first question now, after the recap, I would like to ask from you is about, so based on your insights, so if you can please talk about what are the trends that are emerging in this year's H-1B registration process, and are there any notable changes or expectations compared to the previous years?
So, everyone is always eager to see what this year's registration will look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, it's hard to, and what they're eager to see is how many total registrations there might be, how many duplicate registrations, how many selections, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get an idea from the previous years. Registration hasn't started as yet, but we can still get some information from previous registrations to see what to expect for this year's registration. And also, we have some idea because there have been changes in the law, so we can expect some changes in the numbers of registrations
Mm-hmm.
based on that change in the law. So, to go deep into that, what I just said, previously, if you look at 2021, 22, 23, 2021 and 22 registrations were about 270 to 300,000. 2023, the registrations went up to 483,000, almost half a million. And then there was a whooping, almost double the amount of registrations in last year, 2024, to 780,000 registrations. And we know the reason for that. Last year was unusual.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for this increase in registration is the duplicate registrations.
Right.
Um, so the duplicate registrations were 400,000 were duplicate registrations. And the year before also we see a jump from 300 to 483,000, which is a huge jump from
Yeah.
22 to 23. That is also a result of duplicate registrations, which
Mm.
increased last year and the year before, but not as much as last year. So the year before, about 165,000 duplicate registrations were there. So you can see the duplicate registrations is leading to a jump in the total registration number, and consequently, the number of picks last year were 188,000. So
Mm.
let's segregate this information a little bit, dissect this information a little bit, and see why there were
Mhm.
so many selections, why so many registrations. So as I just said, in 2023 and 2024, there were huge number of multiple registrations filed, and as a result of which the registrations jumped from 300 to almost 500 and then to almost 800,000. Now, this year, because it's beneficiary centric,
Mhm.
which means that no matter how many registrations a beneficiary files, they will get only one entry
Yeah.
into the lottery. So this will really decrease the number of multiple registrations. There'll still be a few because, beneficiaries will sometimes, want to accept more than one job offer because they're not sure. They want to go with the company that offers them the best, maybe the best salary, or, the best job. So they could go with more than one, but it will be really decreased because the main incentive was, getting additional chances at the lottery, and that doesn't exist this year. So there will definitely be a decrease in the number of registrations. So we can say it might go back to the 2022 number of about 300,000, 350,000, I think.
Mhm.
And also the pick rate then will be about 130,000 to 120 to 130,000. So we can expect a pick rate of about 20 to 30% this year. And number of registrations, unless the demand goes up
Mhm.
uh, for jobs, and I don't think so because it's still there have been a lot of layoffs, etc. So about 300 to 400,000 registrations and about 120 to 130 selections. So that's what I'm expecting for this year's registrations.
Okay. So I think because of too many duplicates registration, that's why USCIS is so strict with duplicate registrations this time, right? To give everyone
That's correct.
a fair chance.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for the answer, Prashanthi. Now, everyone, I would like to tell you that please note that this session is being streamed live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and the handle is Immigration Talk Show. Don't forget to subscribe to us. And if you have any question to the attorney, wherever you are watching it from, please comment with your questions. We will be glad to answer. And now, I've already, I'm looking at the right side of my screen, and I can already see that Shara, Gen, and Ram, they have posted their questions. To a big hello to all three of you, and thank you for joining the session. And we definitely will be taking your questions, but after I complete mine. So, Prashanti, now let's talk about the next question that I have for you. So, after these trends, let's talk about the impact that they are going to have. So, how might these trends impact the overall landscape of skilled immigration to the United States?
Uh, then, if you're talking about registration and how H-1B registration will impact skilled immigration to the United States this year, um, it's difficult to say. My prediction would be that there's not much impact from last year compared to this year
Mm-hmm.
with reference to the number of people registering. And of course, only that many people can come in the cap. Excuse me. The number of registrations will increase, but the number of people selected might also increase, but the number of people who actually file, who can file, will be the same number. So it'll be the same as the year and the year before. There
Mm-hmm.
have been other trends with USCIS. They've been more forgiving where with end client information, especially for contracting jobs for consulting companies. USCIS has been more forgiving with reference to what documentation is required to show that there is a job available. Previously, under the Trump government and before there was this IT Serve versus Cessna case
Mm-hmm.
was decided, they had a requirement. They would ask for a lot of documentation, end client letter, purchase orders, MSAs, and they would want all this documentation for the entire duration of the H1. So if they're asking for 3 years, they wanted documentation for 3 years. Now they've been more lenient on that. They haven't been asking for documentation related to whether the consulting company has a job or not. So they're really without any POs. Also, they are approving cases without end-client letters, but we still, at our company, like to present proper documentation because if there is an RFE, they can still ask for what kind of specialty occupation job or work the petitioner has, but they haven't been. Just something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a trend. If that is a trend that continues, then you will see a lot more people coming and being able to come in on H1 because more cases will get approved. And
Mm-hmm.
there might be a lot of people who come in who don't have jobs as when they come in, but then the consulting companies will look for jobs for them once they come into the country and start working with them. So it's called speculative employment. So you might see more of those jobs. H1s come into the market. Um, we already know that the green card visa numbers are not available. They're saturated, oversaturated, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, the more number of people that come on a H1, the more likely it is that the green card numbers will move further back
Mm-hmm.
because it's all a question of supply and demand. So we can expect something of that nature. But all of it, really, one of it is USCIS laws, and the other big element of it is again what the market says. What is the demand in the market for these new jobs? Is there availability, or are the layoffs so much that there is no scope to bring in new people? So all this makes a big difference when we see what the overall impact will be for skilled immigrants.
Absolutely. And we also, while I'm watching the news, I'm constantly looking um, in at these videos where news about layoffs is there. So, and also, when you mentioned about the documentation and Trump government, so elections are meant to happen this year in the US, right? So people are expecting, I mean, I don't know if I should say this or not, but people are expecting Trump to be back. So do you think it is going to make something like a major change is going to happen in the
Yeah,
immigration
so that's
world?
right. So that's another part. I was going to mention it, and then I forgot. But elections is a major element to this whole thing
Yeah.
on deciding the landscape of skilled immigrants. Definitely, it depends on which party is in power.
Mm-hmm.
If it is the Republican Party, then it's not so good because Republicans recently have been anti-immigration, even legal immigration, whatever it might be. They're not
Yeah.
being very conducive to immigration. So if the Democrats stay in power, then we can expect more of the same. If
Mm-hmm.
they retain majority in both the House and the Senate,
Mm-hmm.
then we can expect some good positive change with reference to skilled immigrants, maybe increasing of the visa numbers or removing the cap on visa on green card visa numbers. But since we haven't seen that scenario, where one party has had complete control of both the House and the Senate. No significant law has been passed on immigration because of that. So all this makes a difference on the landscape for skilled immigrants.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for answering the question, Prashanthi. Now let's move on to the major topic of discussion here, the USCIS fee increase. So let's talk about that. So if you can please, let us know if the recent USCIS fee increase correlate with improvements in service quality and processing times. Because if people are paying more, they expect the service quality to be better, right?
So I think USCIS aspires always to improve their quality and processing times, but the reason for the fee increase, I suspect, is more so that the quality doesn't degrade, and the processing times are not backlogged
Mm-hmm.
because they are. It is based on fee. They don't get any money from the government or the Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So they are seeing heavy backlogs, and I would also say COVID has impacted their ability to work because during COVID they said that they did not receive enough cases, so they did not have enough fee.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it has affected their ability to work moving forward as well, and that's why there was a huge influx of some money given, funds released to USCIS, even though they are not usually released. I believe it was last year or the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and also, they are increasing their fee now because they want to make sure that they are able to maintain at least their level of processing. They are also improving. If you notice, they have reduced the backlog. Um, the existing backlog they have reduced almost 500,000 cases. I think they said that they have removed from the backlog. Um, but still, their quality of processing that they have, it's not just about processing time, but it's the quality of how they process it, like sending out ridiculous requests for further evidence
Yeah.
where there is no need to send out a further request for further evidence, asking questions which are not related to the
Mm-hmm.
petition in hand, uh, making it hard for people for legitimate employers to hire workers, right? Even when they meet all the requirements, USCI should, improve the quality of its processing, not just the time taken to process a case. I guess they're doing it. They're doing the online processing, which I'm hoping will improve the processing and improve the processing time as well.
Mm-hmm.
But online processing has its own drawbacks, so we have to see how
Yeah.
that goes.
Okay. Okay. So now, we have discussed about the fee increase. Now let's talk about the revenue. it's going to make after the fee increase. So the next question that I have for you is, if you can please talk about, how does the USCIS allocate the additional revenue generated from the fee increases, and what impact does this have on overall operation efficiency?
So I think we discussed a little bit about the overall operational efficiency. We hope that it will improve.
Hmm.
They are saying that it will. They have several measures in place that they want to take, but time will tell whether
Yeah.
what extent it will improve the efficiency. But with reference to allocation of funds, a big chunk of this funds is for H1s, I-140s, etc. The asylum fee, which is $600 for companies over 25 employees. They're filing a penalty kind of thing to employers, um, because they're not able to, as per their mandate, they're not able to charge for the asylum processing. So since that they're not charging, they are charging instead for the asylum processing when people come across the border, etc. There is no fee for that, and they're not able. They're struggling to, continue with their asylum program, and that's important for humanitarian grounds. We all understand that. But to penalize one party for the sake of another party doesn't seem to be fair. So that's what they're doing right now. They're penalizing companies and they're adding a $600 fee, which is not a small fee. It's a huge
Hmm.
fee. It's not like a $50 or a $100 fee. It's $600 fee. That's a huge impact on for most businesses, especially if they're filing multiple H1s. That will impact their business and their ability to bring in talent to the US and to retain talent as well. So that's how they're going to be allocating. A major chunk of that $600 fee is going to go to asylum programs to improve and continue and maintain the asylum program. The rest, I guess, will go. They're saying is because of inflation, they need to increase their fee. So I think uh, they're not really going to be using it really too much to make improvements. It's just to sustain themselves, is
Right.
what I think.
Okay. All right. Now let's move on to our next question, Prashanthi, which is about this online filing. So, before I ask my question, so if I talk about, asking parents, so I think parents would hardly tell you to file an application online, because they hardly, because, when I talk about my parents, they don't trust the internet. They always trust the paper filings. So if I talk to you, if I ask you, if you can please talk about what are the advantages of online filing for I-129 petitions compared to traditional paper based methods.
So we have to wait and see, first of all, how the online filing unfolds. Right now, you have online filing for some cases, but not attorneys can't do it. But if applicants can file themselves online for an I-539 application, which is if you're seeking to change your status to a non-immigrant petition, such as an F1 or a B2 or a B1, that's an or a H4, that's an I-539 application. Also, they have online filing for citizenship applications. So they have this, and it works pretty well, except for the fact that they don't allow attorneys to file these online, which makes no sense because most applications are filed by attorneys. Maybe
Right.
they haven't expanded it as yet to include most petitions, so therefore, they are restricting it. Uh, so anyway, so now with reference to the H-1B, the advantages are humongous, and disadvantages also can be humongous depending on how the system works, right? So with reference to filing H1s online, the advantages is that you don't have to um, print out and FedEx, hundreds of pages of documents, right? And if a person's status is expiring, you can submit the same day. In FedEx, they don't deliver same day. It's usually few service centers accept same day, but it's very difficult to do that. So most of them get delivered the next day. So if a person is losing their status, same day filing is not possible. Online, it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, you can get a receipt immediately if you file online because immediately
Yeah.
they'll fee receipt it. So you have proof that it was filed. Number four, it doesn't get lost in the mail, right? And delay the application. And sometimes if there's a deadline, if it gets delayed, then your application will come back. So that won't happen in an online filing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not at the mercy of a courier service or a post office. And it's easy to pay the fee. You can pay it through credit card or ACH. You don't have to write a check and mail a check. And if the check bounces, etc., you will not know until a month because they take a month to send the case back. And by then, a lot can happen. Here, if it bounces or the fee doesn't come through, I'm presuming that USCIS will be able to notify us immediately that the credit card didn't go through or the ACH didn't go through, and we
Yeah.
can correct that and provide an alternative payment, as required. So these are all the advantages. Of course, there are disadvantages. Depending on how they do it, if they're trying to reduce paperwork, then if they have a if all the documents have to be uploaded in a PDF, then you have to actually print out everything, scan it, and then create a PDF and then do it. So you're not really saving paper unless
Right.
you have, they are providing us with Acrobat, sophisticated document collating kind of software which we can use to collate and then make it into one document without actually printing it out.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, we still need to print out unless they allow electronic signatures, which as of now they have not yet allowed. You
Mm-hmm.
still have to print out the forms, sign them, and scan them and upload them.
Okay.
So you're still not making it completely, online. It's still paper based to a certain extent, right?
Okay.
And then, just from past experience, once USCI starts something online, there are always glitches. Um, so we don't know until we start what those glitches are.
Right.
I, for one, would not start using online filing until it's been vetted by USCIS and by other users. I will wait and see first how it works because I don't want to jeopardize my client status by
Right.
using a system which is new or which hasn't been tested properly. So, I will not do that for as of now. So those I think um, definitely advantages, but some disadvantages as well. And depends again on how complicated or how easy USCIS makes
Mm-hmm.
this process of online filing, how well their system works, and again. So let's wait
Okay.
and see.
It's soon to say anything.
Correct.
Yeah. But being an attorney yourself, would you recommend the traditional paper-based method or the online filing?
Again, it depends on how the online filing is working. If it's 100% working perfectly, then I don't see any reason not to file online. And if it's easy to use, also the ease of use, everything is a factor, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And as to how many steps it takes to actually file online, they're going to make it complicated, then nobody will do it. They'd rather do FedEx. So it has to
Absolutely.
be easy to use and easier to use than filing in paper. If you're giving them a choice,
Hmm.
people will follow the easier choice. So you make sure that it is easier than the paper filing. If it is, then they will use it,
Okay. But
and
then,
so will
you
I.
also,
Yeah.
okay, okay. But then you also mentioned about the disadvantages it might have. So let's talk about those. So if you can please mention, I mean, you already have, but if you can specifically mention some challenges or disadvantages, that people might face while transitioning to, on, this online filing.
If the system doesn't work, then you think that you file a petition, but the petition would not have actually been filed.
Hmm.
Uh, that's a disadvantage because there's no way of knowing unless they tell you. So then they're not. Then they come back a month later and say, "Oh, it was not filed, or we didn't
Hmm.
get your PDF, or we didn't. You have to refile it, and we are not going to honor the date that you filed it previously." Then that's a huge problem.
Mm.
We don't have that problem with courier services because once it's delivered, it's delivered.
Yeah.
We have proof of delivery, right? So that is, I think, some teething problems that can happen with USCIS. Also, glitches in the system. It might freeze. It might, you know, documents might disappear. Who knows, right? Because it
Yeah.
is an online system, and we don't know
Absolutely.
how secure or how safe it is. Also, because it might USCIS system might get hacked. Then people's social security numbers, their passports, their
Yeah.
everything can get hacked, right? So that's another problem that security wise, we don't know how secure the system is
Mm.
and how comfortable clients will feel, uploading documents and their personal information online. And we
Mm-hmm.
have to give them a choice ultimately of whether they want to file online or in person,
Okay.
right? So these are few some of the day-to-day problems that I see with filing online.
Mm-hmm. I think after you have, shed light on the disadvantages and the challenges, the people who might have decided to go for online filing will, you know, think about it actually. After this episode gets over, I think they will have the apprehension: should they do online or offline, or the traditional paper based. But then let's see what's best, and let's wait for it. And now, thank you so much, Prashanthi, for shedding light on the crucial question. And now, what we'll do is take a short break. But everyone, I have your questions, here on my screen towards my right. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break and come back to answer your questions, but in just a moment.
Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 833 412 8472 or mail us at support@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
You enjoyed that brief intermission. Now it's time to tackle some burning questions from our lovely, lovely audience. So like I said, I already have a lot of questions here on the right side of my screen. So now the first question that I'm going to take is of JBR Prasad. Okay, JBR Prasad, he has posted this on YouTube, Prashanthi, and he wants to know: Hi, my qualification is 3 years diploma in electronics and communication engineering with 17 years of experience, and I want to evaluate my qualification and experience for H-1B filing. Can you please suggest me on this?
Right. So if you have a 3-year diploma program, then you need to do a work experience, educational work experience evaluation. So 3 years of work experience is equivalent to 1 year of degree. So you have sufficient work experience. And of course, it depends on which area you're going to be working in. If you're going to be filing the H1 as a software engineer, for example, you will need to show work experience in the IT field. And then so they will evaluate the diploma plus the work experience if it's in the IT field and give you the equivalent of a bachelor's in information systems. So it's possible to do it. You just have to get an evaluation done.
Okay. JBR, I hope you've got the answer. Now let's move on to our next viewer. The next viewer is Shara, and Shara has posted this on YouTube. And she says, how are the new online accounts for H-1B registrations different from the previous method?
H1B registrations is different from the previous method because now the lottery is going to be done based on passport number or passport ID. So if you have, even if you file 5 registrations, you will get entered into the lottery only once. And the way that they can identify is through the passport number. So they know that it's the same person filing for 5 registrations. They will only give you one pick at the lottery.
Okay. So, Shara, thank you so much for your question. Now, let's take Jen's question. And Jen wants to know, my LCA states that I should be in New Jersey, but I am moving to Connecticut to stay with my relatives. Do I have to amend the LCA? How does it impact if I don't amend the LCA and continue living in CT, as in Connecticut?
So you have to file an amended petition with USCIS, not just amend your LCA. You have to file a new LCA and then file an entire petition, which is same as a new petition. It's just that the process is the same. It's just that you're checking off the amended box rather than the new box. But it's really like filing a new petition. So you have to file an amended petition because there is a change in work location, provided that there is a change in work location, right? So if the work location was your home and now you're changing your home from New Jersey to Connecticut, then there is a change. If you do not file an amended petition, then you are violating your status. So next time when you're filing for a change of status, a transfer, extension, when you go to the consulate, this could impact you in a major way.
Okay. So, Jen, thank you so much for your question. I hope you have got your answer. Now, let's move on to Ram's question. And Ram has posted this on YouTube. And Ram says, my H-1B CAP registration was selected this year. I'm filing my H-1B, H4 COS for her. Can I file H-1B petition, H4 COS, and H4 EAD together? If yes, what's the procedure?
Well, I don't think your cap has been selected as yet if you're talking about, because the cap registration hasn't started yet. So maybe you're talking about, the previous fiscal year, in which case, yes, you can file H1, H4, EAD, everything together. In fact, you should file together because when you file together, the processing time of the H4 and H4 EAD is much, much less than if you file separately. If you file together, everything gets approved together. So if you have, for example, you file your H1 premium processing, the H4 EAD as well as the change of status also gets approved in premium processing. This is not possible if you file it separately, and when you file separately, the processing time is about 6 months. So there is a huge difference between the two.
Okay. So,
And
Ram, thank
also another thing that I wanted to add, Rajni, is that but if you file only a H1 change of status, and if your dependent is based on your previous status, then for example, if you're on an F1 and your dependent is on an F2, and you file a change of status from F1 to H1, and if you don't file for your dependent, and if your H1 gets approved, then your dependent falls out of status because your dependent cannot be on an F2 if you're not on an F1. So it's important, that's why also to file together.
Okay. Okay. All right. Ram, thank you so much for your question. I hope you have got the answer. Now let's move on to Navi. So Navi has also posted this on YouTube and she wants to know, what advice would you offer to individuals and employers navigating the H-1B registration process under the new system?
Employers and individuals. So employers, the advice is to please open your accounts as soon as possible. Today is the date that you can do it. If you have already registered last year, then you already have an account. Go to my USCIS, see if it's working or not. Sometimes it may not work, and you might have to register a new account. If it's already working, please follow the instructions clearly as to what you need to do to update or upgrade that account to an organizational account. It's pretty simple, straightforward prompts that are given to you. Select that I am a H-1B registrant, not a H-1B applicant or H-1B petitioner. Though I understand that they're not asking those questions anymore. It just automatically upgrades to an organizational account. Make sure that you create In addition to a super user account, create more than one super user account, so more than one admin account, so that if something would happen to that email or something happens to that person and they're no longer working at your office, you might want to have more than one person in charge of having the administrative rights to that account. Also, you can create more than one user account, and I would suggest to create more than one. This way, you can more than one person can enter registration information. Other tip I have is make sure you don't duplicate your registrations. Look at it very carefully. Um, the new system has a way of checking duplications, but it's not straightforward. While it'll prevent you from registering someone that you've already registered, within the registration document, if you're doing, say, 20 registrations at one time, which you submit at one time, it will not look for duplicates within that document. There is another way of doing that. There is a way of downloading that into a CV file. It's
Right.
like, I believe it's like an Excel file where then you can check for duplicates, and then if you find no duplicates, you can submit the application. So make sure you do that process of checking in your document to make sure there are no duplicates, right? This is very important because if you, by mistake, put in a duplication, then both that beneficiary, if they are picked, then you will not be able to file the H1. Even
Mm.
if you file, then the H1 will get rejected or refused. So be careful with reference to duplicates. Enter. Um, don't make typographical mistakes with reference to the names, the spellings of the company or the beneficiary. Make sure you enter the correct passport ID number for the beneficiary. For beneficiaries, the advice is that under the new system, make sure you use the same passport that you've used for registration to enter into the US when you're entering the US. Very important. If your passport expires between now and then carry your old passport and the new passport. But make sure you carry your old passport as well. Even when you go for your visa, make sure you carry both the passports. That's key. If you're in the country and you're changing and you're putting in a new passport, then we have to put in a cover letter saying that it's the same person and that they have, extension because the previous passport was expiring. Um, I think those are some of the pointers that, for beneficiaries and petitioners as well.
Those are some really important points, Navi. I hope you have recorded this, or at least you have written all these points that Prashanthi mentioned, so that you do not make any mistake while you register. So thank you so much for your question, and I hope you have got the answer. And now let's move on to Vicky's question. So Vicky has posted this on YouTube again, and Vicky says, "Can you explain the specific improvements made to online accounts for employers and applicants participating in the H-1B registration process?" I think we have already discussed it, but
Right. Very quickly, applicants, there is nothing for the applicants to do here because applicants play no role. It's the employers that register. So the only improvements would be for the attorneys and the employers. And I think they've streamlined the process. Before it was, now you can just open an organizational account and you can invite your attorney to join that account or vice versa. Before it was much more complicated to link both the accounts. So linking the accounts has become very, very easy. And as I mentioned, there is a way of checking for duplicate registrations, which was not there before. So that's another improvement that they've made. And in general, the look and feel and the ease of entering information is better in this new account. But the information that needs to be entered is really the same that needed to be entered in the previous account. It's the same thing, the company information, FEIN number, the address of the company, the beneficiary's name. The only additional thing that you have to enter is the passport ID, which was optional last time and now it's compulsory. So the information, from the information point of view, it's the same, but there have been some improvements in the use of the accounts.
okay, okay. Thank you so much, Vicky. I hope you've got your answer. Thank you for your question. And everyone, I would like to tell you that I hope so far the session is being helpful and informative to you. And if you need immigration help, because the H-1B season is here and it's a really important time. So if you need immigration help, don't forget to reach out to Attorney Prashanthi Reddy. You can give her a call at 212-354-1010. You can also mail her at prashanthi @reddyesq.com. You can also visit our website, which is reddyesq.com. And if you're looking for a project placement or visa sponsorship, you can reach out to me on my email, which is Rajni at hirightpeople.com. And you can give me a call or text me on my contact number, which is +1 732 707 9151. We also have a website. Our website is www.hirightpeople.com. So you can also visit that. And always remember that we also sponsor H-1B visas and green cards. Now, coming back to the viewers, Prashanthi. So the next question that I have is from Neela. And Neela wants to know, where exactly is the fee spike occurring? Is it during the initial application for the lottery or at the subsequent filing stage if our application is selected? What's the amount?
Right. So, fee spike for registration is not happening this year, but it will happen next year. This year it's still $10. Next year it'll be $250. So there's a huge fee spike occurring at the registration step itself, but that is only for next year. The increase in fee, the rule is coming into play on April 1st, and that's why, since the registration is happening before that, the increase in fee has not been affected for this year. With reference to the increase in fee for the H-1B filing, there is an increase of fee from if you are over 25 employees, if your company has over 25 employees, then the fee is increasing from 460 to 780. In addition to that, there is a surcharge, the asylum fee that I was talking about. So you have to pay an additional $600 for the asylum fee. So all in all, you have an increase of about $1,000 if you have a company that's over 25 employees. I do understand though that there is litigation being filed as we speak by this organization called IT Serve. They're filing litigation. I heard that they are. So that will help companies as well if they're successful in that litigation. They are litigating the asylum fee, the $600 per charge. If you are a company that has 25 or below 25 employees, then your fee increase is only the asylum fee and only 50% of the asylum fee. So you're only paying $300 more, which is not too bad. So from 1,700 something, you'll be paying $2,000 if you're over 20, if you're under 25 or under. So
Okay.
that's the fee
Okay.
increase.
So, Neela, I hope you have got your answer. Thank you for your question. And next, let's quickly, because we have last 10 minutes left. Let's quickly move to our next viewer question. The name is Anjali, and Anjali says, my status has been converted from F1 to H-1B in October 2023, and I haven't yet got visa stamped. Right now, I don't have any valid visa. I will be required to travel. Is there any risk?
You're filing for change of status from F to H. Yes, you will have to go for a visa at some point. Is there a risk? There's always a risk when you go for a visa because there's no guarantee that it'll get approved because Department of State has the full authority to deny anybody's visa. And they do have to give a reason, but you cannot appeal the process. So that's the problem. But in general, if it's a proper company, if it's a valid company doing bona fide business, and if you are working and you've not violated your status, more often than not, visas are approved.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Anjali, thank you for your question. I hope you have got your answer. Now, let's move to Rajiv Patel's question. Rajiv says, is graduation mark sheet required for lottery registration, petition, or interview for H-1B?
It's used for the H-1B. It's needed for the H-1B petition, not needed at registration.
Okay. Because people, really inquire about this degree and graduation mark sheet. So
So
thank you for
basically, we need to know at the time of registration whether it's master's degree from the US and whether it's accredited or not, and whether it's related or not. So we ask for the all the information so that we can make sure we're filing a registration
right.
that will have a chance of succeeding once accepted. But USCIS doesn't require you to upload this. It's
Okay.
only prudent to submit this to your attorney or your employer. But USCIS requires you to submit this at the time of filing the H-1B petition. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time of the interview at the consulate, they already have a copy of your H-1B petition, including all your mark sheets and everything else that you've submitted. So you don't need to submit that separately
Mm.
when going to the consulate. Though sometimes they might ask for original degrees and transcripts. So it's not a bad idea to carry your original degree and transcript for your visa interview.
Okay. Okay. But it's always safe to have your original mark sheet or original degree. So original documents basically. So Rajiv, make sure you have it all. Now let's move to Prabhu, and Prabhu wants to know that how do these online accounts streamline the documentation process for H-1B registrations?
I think we discussed it,
Yeah, we
Prashant.
already discussed this, so let's not waste time and quickly move on to our next question. So next is Nomi, and Nomi wants to know what's my options for recovering application fees for I-485, I-767, and EAD paid with biometrics paid, and also representation as she didn't represent at all my case in spite of I mailed her all documents. I think the framing of the question is a bit wrong, but I hope you got the gist of it.
Maybe they're talking about, I don't know if they're talking about that an attorney that they have sent all the documentation to.
I think so.
And the fee, recovering application fee, I mean, if USCIS, if you filed a case with USCIS and they have processed it,
Hmm.
you cannot ask for recovery of the application fee because they have processed your case. Whether
That's
you, even if you withdraw it, they will not give you back your refund your application fee. Attorney fee is a different matter. You have to see what happened and what representation took place, and if you're unhappy with the representation, then you should discuss with the attorney and find a solution. Maybe they will give back part of the fee. Again, this is case by case, right? So we can't really say for sure what happened in your case.
maybe I feel maybe Naomi is thinking it as a scholarship. So it's not a scholarship that you get your refund or your fees back. So once you have paid the fees, it's done. So now let's move on to Prashant's question. Prashant says, I'm applying for fiscal year 2025 H-1B registration. Currently, I am on STEM OPT. My passport will be expiring in next 7 months. How does it work if my name is selected in the H-1B
Hmm.
lottery?
Right. So you'll have to, at this point of time, you have to give your present passport that you have. And then when you're ready to, if it gets picked and you're ready to file the H1, then, your attorney or employer or whoever is filing your H1 will submit the old passport and the new passport. And they have to say, give like at least a statement saying that this is the same person and same date of birth, etc. And due to expiry, we are submitting a new passport. So as long as you give that information to USCIS and submit both the passports, it should be okay.
Hmm. Okay.
If it's possible to get a new passport now and register, but we don't have much time, I understand that. But if you've already submitted an extension, or maybe you haven't because it's more than 7 months. But if you have, then it's better to submit the new passport. If you haven't, then submit the passport that you have.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Prashant, for your question. We're already out of time for any more questions from the audiences, but let's take one more. And the next question, before I read out this next question, I would like to read out the disclaimer here. By watching our videos, everyone, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. Now, let's quickly move on to our last question for today's show. And the question is from Safa, and Safa wants to know how do the changes aim to improve the efficiency and fairness of the H-1B lottery system?
Maybe we can take another question because we've answered this already.
All right, so we have one more question. It's from Sai Anhita. So Sai says, "Hi, I got 221G pink slip. How much time it will take generally to get the approval? Hyderabad consulate frequently issuing 221G for most of the people. Can I go for new registration?"
Right, and I have heard this also. There are a lot of 221Gs being issued at the consulate in India now, and
Mm-hmm,
this usually happens when cap season comes. Just when it starts, the USCIS will start issuing RFEs. Consulates will start issuing 221Gs because they are trying to dissuade people from filing new H-1B petitions, and or make people think twice before they file. So this always happens every year. It's
mm-hmm,
just bad luck that for the people who go during this time, they get hit by it. But usually it can take up to 6 months or sometimes even longer for if consulate says that your case is being gone into administrative processing, because they will cross check whether your company is genuine or not, whether your education is genuine or not, and they might reach out to the client if there is an end client. So it takes time for them to check all this. So there's no guarantee of approval, of course. It might be approved or there might be a denial, in which case then they will issue information to USCIS to revoke your H1. So as of now, if your H1 is not revoked, then you are still cap exempt. It's
mm.
only if USCIS revokes your H1 that you will not be cap exempt, and in that scenario, then you'll have to apply for the registration again.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prashanthi, for addressing that concern. Now, I can hear your mail notifications. You are getting too many mails. I'm sure you must be really busy because it's the H-1B season and constantly, those notification sounds I can also hear. So you must be getting really, a lot of work and you must be really, really busy. So, but thank you so much again for taking out time and coming and doing the show. It was such a pleasure. We'll see you on next Wednesday.
Thank you, Rajni. See you next Wednesday. And thank you, listeners, for being so patient and waiting for your questions to be answered. Those that were not answered, maybe we can do that next week, or you can, forward some questions, Rajni, to me, and I'll try to
Mhm.
answer them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that. Means a lot. All right, everyone. Unfortunately, like Prashanthi said, and I would like to say it again, we are out of time for audience questions. But fear not, we'll be back with more insights and discussions on the next episode. But until then, you guys stay informed and stay engaged. And you already have my details on the screen, my mail ID, telephone number, and our website. You can connect me through those. And now I'll meet you in the next episode. But until then, don't forget to subscribe to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Bye for now.